what does the Bible teach about business? That's what we'll uncover together on the Business in His Image podcast. This show explores strategies from the Bible that will help you grow your business, strengthen your walk with Jesus, and help you reach your God-given potential as an entrepreneur. The Bible is filled with practical wisdom to help you live for God while using your gifts. Let's unpack what that means for you and how you can use biblical truths to build a thriving business that honors Christ. Now it's time to dive in. Hey friend, today is a very special episode. I'm going to be sharing an interview that I did with my friend Kenniqua J. She's a YouTuber and she teaches a lot about virtual assistants, how to work from home, and she just has a wonderful channel. So we collaborated on an interview some time back, and I wanted to share it here on this podcast because there were so many gems dropped in this interview that I think it's really, really going to help you. She is an excellent interviewer, and I think that this is really going to help you in your business. For any of the links mentioned throughout the live, I will drop those in the show notes. So just keep in mind, this originally was a YouTube live that we did. So it was on video, but you are going to get the audio here. And so I hope you enjoy.
We're going to talk about how you can actually go through and double your revenue from your virtual assistant business. Jo here, she's the owner of the Virtual Mama, and she actually is a conversion copywriter. So she's written several sales copy for multi 6 and 7 figure businesses, and she has worked closely with brands to help them increase their revenue through strategic brand messaging in her self-paced course, which is Copyland. So she also teaches her exact processes for writing copy to help others actually replicate it for their clients and their own businesses. So Jo, can you tell us a little bit of how you actually got started even working from home or making money from home? Can you kind of go into that a little bit for us?
Yes, I would love to. So when I was pregnant with my first child, I realized that I wanted to be there for my family more. So I started researching ways that I could make money from home using the skills that I had. And it has been quite a journey. It really took me years to figure out what I could do that was going to yield a great return for my time. So I did a little bit of everything starting out. My first job, I was a call center agent. And then from there, I was doing blog writing, social media. I was doing so many things to figure out what was going to work. But the problem that I had was that I couldn't work a full-time job. I had small children, so many responsibilities. So I had to figure out what I could do that was going to yield a better return for my money. And that's when I came across copywriting. It has been such a blessing to me and my family. And since I have started copywriting, I've been able to make a full-time income working part-time hours. I've worked with amazing people. I've made such great connections. So it's truly an amazing journey.
Awesome. And like you said, a lot of people kind of share that same story. I mean, we're all kind of started from working from home. It's funny that you said that you worked at a call center because I worked at a call center myself for about 13 years collectively before even working from home. And so even now we kind of do like the virtual call center, like we hire agents to do virtual call center work, but that's amazing. And like how you started a similar story. So can you tell me, so for those that don't know exactly what a virtual assistant does, because we're going to lead into, of course, that copywriting aspect of it. But if someone is really just trying to get started and they are getting started working from home and they are wanting to know exactly what a virtual assistant does, can you kind of break that down for me? And then, how you ended up in the copywriting space?
Yeah. So a virtual assistant is exactly what it sounds like. It's a remote assistant. You're offering virtual services to other business owners. And it's a really great field because it's so diverse. So whatever background you have, whatever career you're transitioning from, there's a way that you can use the skills you have. So I did start out as a VA and I was offering the social media and the blog writing, and then I niched down. And that happens a lot in that industry, right? You may start out offering one service, but then you find you love something else, and it's totally okay to do that. But if that's something that you want to get started in, the best thing to do is do your research and figure out how you can use the skills you already have to offer that as a service.
Definitely. So when you went from offering social media and doing like a lot of things under the sun, like a lot of us do in the virtual assistant space, what drew you to actual copywriting and what exactly, because I know there's different types of copywriting, conversion copy, sales copy and things of that nature. What drew you to actually copywriting?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my background is in writing and marketing. I started out over 10 years ago doing freelance journalism. I enjoyed marketing. I had a background in digital PR and I did all sorts of different roles in marketing. So when I learned about copywriting, I realized it was something that married those two gifts that I had, marketing and writing. And I just absolutely loved it. And for those who are new to copywriting and might be wondering what exactly that is, copywriting, text that's used for marketing purposes. So it could be advertisements on a billboard, or it could be a Facebook ad that you see, or an email that you get in your inbox. So it's very, very diverse, but it's a very in-demand skill. And that's what's great about it. Businesses really need that. So if you learn to be really proficient as a copywriter, you can make a great income working remotely.
Great. And then as far as like, even with copywriting, because I understand like some people may say, you know, I'm a virtual assistant or maybe looking to be a virtual assistant or maybe not looking to be a virtual assistant at all. The skills that you learn as a copywriter, that's something that they could apply to their current businesses, right? I mean, we all kind of use copywriting to persuade people to purchase our products, to convert people onto our email list. So that's something that they could convert into almost any type of business, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. I highly recommend that anyone who has any type of business learns copywriting because you will save so much money. You won't have to outsource your marketing to someone else. And it is going to increase your revenue because you're able to communicate your message and the value of what you offer in a way that's clear, concise, persuasive, and really communicates to your visitors how you can help them, how you can solve a problem in their life. And it surprised me, but actually a number of students that have joined my copywriting course are not even aspiring copywriters. They just want to learn to be able to write copy for their own business and, develop that copywriting skill.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense because I know like even years ago with myself, I started kind of studying copywriting just not because like you said, I wanted to be a copywriter, but for that reason, like, hey, let me use the skills to write my landing page or use those skills and techniques to write the copy for my website. So that definitely does make sense. Now, if someone were to look into, like, they're like, hey, I don't want to be a VA, strictly a VA anymore and offer all of these different services. What do they need to do if they wanted to start offering copywriting services? Like what type of skill set? Number one, I guess let's start with that. What type of skill set would a person need in order to be able to become a copywriter?
Absolutely. So number one, you want to have a love for writing because if you don't like to write, it's not going to work out for you. Okay. But I will start by saying it's a skill that you can learn. So if you feel like you like writing, but you don't feel like the best writer, because copywriting is not about being the most creative writer. It's about being able to know people, like understand people's behaviors, the way they think, and doing research because a lot of your writing is going to be based on the research that you found. So that's the great thing. You're not starting from scratch. So have an interest in writing and have an interest in marketing. If you're the type of person that can figure things out and you like to learn, you can absolutely pick up this skill.
Okay. And is there like a particular style of writing that a beginner should maybe kind of start off with when they're kind of getting into copywriting?
Yeah, I think the best way to start is actually writing content. Content is not necessarily selling something, right? But if you can find maybe a client or a job where you're going to be writing social media content, email content, or blog content, what you can do is you can start there, but you can apply copywriting principles to those projects so that you're practicing and developing that skill. And those kinds of writing projects are going to be a little bit easier to start with.
Okay. Okay. So if someone wanted to, like, they're like, okay, after they get done looking into this, and of course they want to explore, and of course you have your resources for them to go through and explore the copywriting services or starting it. But how would they go about getting their first client? So maybe they do have those skills that they enjoy writing, they enjoy marketing, maybe they already have some ideal clients in mind. How would they actually start finding like their very first client, and what type of revenue could they expect from that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So starting out, you really want to start within your own network and just finding any opportunity you can, whether it's free or paid, because when you're starting out, you're really looking to gain experience more than anything. And once you have that skill and you have that experience, it's so much easier to book more projects and earn more revenue. So start with the people that you know, people you went to school with, people that you've worked with, and just see if they have any projects that you can help them with. And I also highly recommend starting locally if you're able to. Virtual connections are great, but when you can connect with people locally, local businesses, and help them, even if you're starting out for free, just to gain that experience, it's really, it's on a whole nother level because you have that personal connection. So I would say networking.
Okay. And then would you, because I know sometimes when you're kind of getting to the space, even like a virtual assistant space, even kind of starting out, some people recommend that you start off actually doing a free service. Would you recommend doing something like a project for free or maybe a testimonial? Is that something that you've done before?
Yeah. When I started out as a freelance writer, this was before I got into the VA world. This was, I was fresh out of college and trying to get, clients and everything. And I did internships. I did a lot of free work. And there's definitely a place to find paid opportunities that are entry level, but you also have to remember that these businesses are investing in you and they're expecting results. So if you are still learning, it doesn't hurt at all to give some of your time in exchange for that testimonial, in exchange for that experience, because it will surely pay off later.
Okay. And then what about using services like freelance services, like maybe Upwork or Fiverr? Are those good places now to still continue to get like some of your first initial clients?
In the past, I did get some clients through Upwork. I haven't personally used Fiverr. I know some people that they do great with Upwork and Fiverr. So it's really hit or miss and it just depends. But the method that I teach my students in my course, I teach them other methods. So I'm not against it, right? But I don't teach that because I've seen more effective methods that have worked better for me personally. So it's definitely worth a try. If you want to get on there, it doesn't hurt, right? You can create a free account. You can try it out. It's not going to hurt.
It's definitely not going to hurt. I know the hardest thing is, I know when I started like my virtual assistant side of my business, the hardest thing to try to figure out is your pricing for your services. Mm-hmm. So we are first starting out. What do you think is like a really good price for someone to start off with when they're first trying to offer these copywriting services?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. I know I did at first too. So when you're starting out, there's different pricing methods. So you can do the hourly rate or you can do like a flat rate for your projects, which is what I typically recommend. So what the way that you can price something is think about how much time it may take you to complete that task and how much you want to make per hour. You're not going to charge them per hour, but that's the rate you're going to use to calculate your project fee. So if you're a brand new copywriter, I would say $30 per hour is a very decent starting rate. And this is like you're new, but you have studied copywriting, you have practiced on your own. You just need experience. And then if you have some experience and you're a solid writer, but you're still like new with that experience, you can charge around $40, $50 and up, depending on your skill level. So I would say that's kind of like the starting range. And it will vary if you're working for an agency as a subcontractor. So if you're working one-on-one with clients, you're going to get paid a little bit higher versus if you're subcontracting, it's expected that you're going to charge a little bit less.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. And then because like I said, we've been emailing back and forth. And so I always, of course, do my due diligence. I would go down the rabbit hole on somebody. And so, of course, I saw that you were working with the Virtual Savvy, which is in the virtual assistant world, a very big company. I am a student of the Virtual Savvy as well. So nice. I was like, wow, that's awesome. You never know like the behind the scenes people of doing
Yeah.
this. Abby, but you don't know all these other people necessarily that are actually, working with that team. So I thought that that was pretty cool. When we're talking about, because I would obviously consider that as a premium client, how do you actually go through and capture those type of clients? Because
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
multi-million dollar company. So just to kind of put that in
Yeah.
perspective, people don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that was by the grace of God, honestly. But what I would say is it's really important to follow the companies that you would like to work with, right? So for them, I had been following them, my husband as well. And I actually found out about that lead through my husband. He found it before I did. But when you're subscribed to someone's email list, especially a company, like the Virtual Savvy, they're a virtual company. So when they're looking to outsource, they're going to look to their community. They're going to be sending out an email about it or post in their Facebook group. It's very normal for virtual companies to do that. So, that's how I found out and I applied. But before applying, I was doing a lot of preparation. I was studying, not necessarily to work there, but just in general for my clients, right? I was studying, reading all that I could, taking all the courses that I could, practicing. So it just came at a really, really great time because I had been studying copywriting and now I just needed a door to open for me to actually, use my gift to help other businesses.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cause that was like, I'm like, man, that is so cool. Like I see these creators and small businesses, and I see sometimes the companies that they're behind the scenes of, and it just amazes me. It's like you never, unless you're, following those people, or like
Yeah.
you said, you're on their email list, don't realize like, oh my God, like you work with them, like $1 million company. I've seen people who work with $1 billion companies, and it's like, but no one knows this, So I
Yeah,
thought
it's
that
true.
was very, very interesting. So you get into copywriting. If someone decided to get in copywriting, how would they actually go through and start pricing their services? How do they actually go through and create like an offer where they can stop, trading time for money? Because obviously you're going to get your clients. Like you said, you could do the hourly rate, you could do the per package
Mhm.
rate as well. But how do you actually kind of get out of that rat race of doing project and getting paid?
Once you've decided, okay, I want to be a VA and you pick that high end service that you want to offer, whether it's copywriting, graphic design, web design, anything, right? Or it could be something techie and whatever that is, you want to look at packages. Can you create that are of super high value that are going to solve a problem that enables you to charge more, but it's not going to take you a ton of time to actually deliver it. So the pricing is going to be based on the value and the results, not on the time that you're putting into it. And that's the beauty of niching down into a high-end service like copywriting, for example, but this can be applied across the board. So it's going to vary from niche to niche, right? Depending on the service. Using copywriting as an example, you want to think about, okay, if you want to offer copywriting, who do you want to work with? What kind of companies do you want to serve? And you got to do a lot of research to find out the problem that you can solve for them. From there, you're going to be able to put packages together that are customized, right? So for example, in my business, I have another business called Honey Digital. That's our agency where my husband and I offer one-to-one services. So we have all sorts of custom packages, and one of them is a full like brand message transformation. Now that's not a typical package, right? Like, oh, just writing a website or an email. But that's the beauty of it, is that you can come up with anything wherever you see a need. So find out what people need, put together a really meaty package, and then have various offers at different price points. But the key is creating a system so that it doesn't take you a ton of time. I have all my questions, my processes for research, everything. It's templatized and it's there waiting for me so I can easily repeat that same process and it's not taking me a ton of time.
Gotcha, gotcha. And I would imagine because something like you said about value-based pricing, I know sometimes a lot of people, they do think about hourly rate, they think about project-based, they think about retainer pricing, but not necessarily like what you said is value-based pricing. And I would imagine that with copywriting services that value-based pricing, though it is more likely the most lucrative, of course, pricing method, how do you teach people that are just getting into copywriting of how to actually articulate their value for value-based pricing? Because like you said, it's not the norm to
Yeah.
offer value-based pricing.
Absolutely. And that's a great question. That's really where copywriting comes in as a business owner. So whether you're offering copywriting or another service, learning copy is going to answer that for you. It's going to provide that solution because through learning copy, you're going to understand how to communicate your value, how to speak about your offer in a way that's concise, clear, and really compelling and persuasive to make people feel like, yes, that is going to solve a problem in my business and it's going to help me. So as a business owner, if you can learn how to apply copywriting principles to your marketing, it's going to put you 10 steps ahead of other business owners who are not doing that.
Gotcha. And so even as like someone that's, let's just say someone that's not going through and they're not necessarily getting into copywriting or learning copywriting to be a copywriter, they're actually learning to enhance their own business. Maybe they are a virtual assistant, maybe their website design business. What do you think is going to be maybe like the top 3 things today that someone could leave here and that they could better their copywriting skills or something like copywriting for their website or copywriting for a sales page? What are 3 things that maybe they should look at to change or enhance that they could do something today?
Well, number one, I would say start with research and take time to really research your audience. You might think that you know your audience and you might know them to some extent, but when you research, and by research, I mean, look at the way that they speak, look at the kind of things that they post on social media, talk to them, interview them, and really understand their pain points, what they struggle with, whether it's pertaining to business or life in general. You really have to know them inside and out. And that's going to enable you to use what I call audience hacking. And that's when you take the language that your audience is using and you embed that into your copy so that when they read your copy, it sounds like them, right? It's really speaking to that internal dialogue that they're having within themselves. Okay. And that's going to help your copy convert better. So number one, audience hacking. Then number 2, learn basic copywriting principles like copywriting formulas. That's really going to help make copywriting easier. And it's going to help guide you along and give you more direction about what you need to optimize. So I would say starting there, it's going to make a huge difference.
Okay. All right. And then we have a question here. Where's the best place to learn copywriting without enrolling into college?
That's a great question. So there's so many ways to learn copywriting. There's tons of books out there. If you want to start small, you can, look for books. I also have a free copywriting class that you can take. It's a free class. You can just watch it instantly. It's almost an hour long and super in depth. So that's a great starting point as well. And I have a lot of other free resources on my website. It'll take you right there and it's a great starting point. You'll learn all the basics that you need.
Yeah, because that's what I think is like really interesting. Like you said, it's kind of using that copywriting. And when you mean research, because I just want to really kind of clarify. So when we're doing research as far as getting into copywriting or for our businesses, are we doing Google searches or should we be really surveying our audience? So let's say we already have an email list. Maybe we should be sending out like some type of survey, like, hey, answer this question. How is the best way to actually go through and service or survey your audience to really get a deep dive of who they are?
Oh, yeah, that's a fantastic question. The best way is to talk to them. So if you have an existing audience, even if it's small, even if you only have 10 people on your email list, talk to them because those are your potential clients, right? Those are your potential customers. So you want to try and do market research. If you can get on a short video call, even if it's 15 minutes, to just have a conversation and understand them and their business, that's going to make a huge impact. So I would say if the more conversations, the one-to-one conversations you can have, it's really going to help you. But there are other ways to go about it as well. You can research inside of Facebook groups just to really see what are people saying. You can look at threads, like you said as well, Google search. There's so many ways to do it, but I would say start with those one-on-one conversations.
Okay. Yeah. And then someone in the comments did say that like audience hacking is definitely an unspoken gem.
Yeah.
Thank you for that one. Never thought about that one before. Definitely. All right. Let's go into so your target audience. So how can you so we're going through and like you're trying to go through and offer some premium services, right? How do we actually go in to target those particular businesses that can afford those services?
Yeah, that's really important. You definitely want to make sure that you're targeting a client that can afford you. And that can be a little bit tricky. But one of the things that we do in our agency, my husband and I, is we do ask upfront on our intake form how much they're making in yearly revenue in their business. You can ask how long they've been in business. And although those questions might feel a little bit intrusive, it is important to understand where they're at in business because that helps you understand how to help them. So if you know that they're not making a lot yet because they're a new business, then you know off the bat they may not be able to afford you and you can start thinking about other solutions for them. Maybe it's an audit or some other scaled back service that you can offer to just help them get started. Or maybe it's a referral to someone else that's a little bit newer in business. So there's different ways to go about it, but definitely you want to pre-qualify them on that intake form so that you can really know if they can afford you or not.
And do you normally follow up? So like when they do the intake forms for those that may not be able to afford the services, do you later follow up with some of the leads that do come in to see, maybe like 3 months or 6 months down the road to see if they later could afford those services?
It really depends. So I take it kind of like a case by case basis because everyone is so different. But I do save their contact information and I do highly recommend having an email list for your business, even if you're only sending out one email a month, but you want to nurture those people because you never know. Like you said, they might come back 3 months, 6 months later, and they might be ready for your services. So it's great to keep that relationship going, even if they're not going to necessarily buy something from you, but you just never know. They might refer you to someone else. So it's just great to keep connections.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And then those that, I know we're talking about premium services, but those that sometimes they cannot, and you mentioned an audit, is that something that maybe that's an opportunity for passive income where maybe you have like an ebook or something? Is that something that you think about or have done before? Maybe offering like an ebook or course or something like that to give to those that cannot necessarily afford those premium services?
Absolutely. And that's a great option. As far as audits go, audits are kind of like a consult. So it's not going to be as expensive as a full package, but it's still going to compensate you very well for your time. So you can have consultations, kind of like those one-on-one, maybe 30-minute calls where you kind of just give them like a drive-through solution, right? Help them come up with the strategy, but then they have to go implement it. You can offer something like that. Or like you said, you can create a mini training, some kind of course or resource. I do have that in my other business, the Virtual Mama. So I provide those resources for business owners who are not ready to hire a copywriter. They can purchase my course at a significantly lower cost than my services, and they can learn and equip themselves to write the copy themselves. So that's an excellent alternative for people to consider.
Okay, got you. That's real smart to do. I do have another question. What software or app do you use for intake forms?
So I'm using the one that's just native to my website builder. And so I use Cadence at the moment. I'm using Cadence with WordPress. So they just have a native contact form and I just simply use that. It goes straight to my email. Now you can get super fancy with it. I like to keep things simple, but you can get super fancy and there's tons of software. One of them that I used to use is called Dipsado and that integrates beautifully with your website. There's a ton out there. I just like to keep things really simple. So depending on what you use. So if you use something like a ClickUp or you have a website already, see what they offer so that you can just integrate something you already use versus going out there to find another program that you're going to have to pay for.
Gotcha. Right. Awesome. Awesome. So if you want to join the free copywriting class, the QR code is on the screen that you can go through and scan. I'll also post it inside of the chat as well for any reason. If you're not able to scan it or not in a place where you can scan it, I'm going to post it inside the chat for you guys as well. But also too, Joe, so I do want to know, about so revamping their brand copy. Okay. Whether you're doing it from a standpoint of a business owner or you're doing it from a standpoint of a person that's wanting to get into copywriting, what are some things that I would need to do or they would need to do in order to be able to revamp their current brand copy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first, you want to take those steps that we talked about, the audience hacking, doing that research and learning those basic copywriting principles, because you're really not going to be able to do that unless you have a basic understanding of copywriting. So you definitely want to make sure you learn those foundational principles. And from there, start with your website. If you have a website, right? Start with your website headline and then work your way through your website. Writing your about section, your bio, your emails, all of the marketing material that you use. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You can start small. You can start with your website headline, and little by little, as you learn more and practice more, you can work through your marketing channels, right? You don't have to do it all right away. So don't feel overwhelmed by that.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, this has been very informational. I'm pretty sure that you guys, definitely if you guys have any questions about copywriting, getting into copywriting, or if you want to do Joel's free class, definitely go ahead and scan it, because like I said, I feel like with myself that has been game changer to learn some of those techniques. Definitely being able to do that. Like I had to rewrite my brand copy and everything for my website as well. So it definitely has been very, very helpful. I do have another question. Someone said, what's your favorite copywriting book?
Oh, I have so many. I can share top 3. So I'm going to look over on my bookshelf. One of them is called, I think it's called like it's by Mark Shaw, and it's just called copywriting, or how to write digital copywriting, something along those lines. But it's by Mark Shaw. It's a red and white book. You can't miss it. And that is a really, really great entry level book. That's one of the first books that I purchased. Another one is the Adweek copywriting book by Joseph Sugarman. That's another one. And these are all books that I own. And then Breakthrough Advertising is, that's a staple as well. It's a little bit pricey, but if you want to really deeply learn copywriting, it's a great investment.
And can you get those are they available on Audible too?
They should be. I don't think Breakthrough Advertising might be on there because it is an older book, but the other ones I mentioned should be on Audible.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Joe, I appreciate you joining us. Like I said, this was very informational. I like bringing people on that are kind of doing the same thing that I'm doing, as far as really helping people to be able to earn money from home. Really. I mean, this is really what it's all about, and being able to get your message, get your message out there and basically have the freedom to do what you like. So I appreciate you joining. I'm just going to see if you guys have any questions for Joe. Somebody just sent me a comment. I have to have a physical copy to touch, highlight, make notes. Yeah,
I'm the same way. All my books are marked up, especially if you're learning about, marketing, something like that. You want to be able to take notes.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, you guys, I'm going to give you guys about maybe 1 2 minutes in case somebody's typing. I hate to cut them off in the middle of your typing, but definitely if you guys have any questions for Joe, definitely go ahead and put them inside of the chat. You guys make sure too that you guys go follow Joe. So if she has a lot of information, like I follow Joe, I've been following her for a little bit now too. She does a lot of content on Instagram. So you can follow her Instagram and Facebook at The Virtual Mama. So make sure you guys go ahead and do that. Especially, like I said, if you want to know more about copywriting and getting into it, take the free course, but also make sure that you do go through and follow her. Jamila did say, okay, so this is actually a really good question. So Jamila said, do you have to make them separate businesses? She means copywriting and virtual assistant, is what she put in her next comment. Do you have to make them separate business?
No, you don't. And that's the beauty of virtual assistants. If you want to offer copy as one of your services as a VA, you can totally do that. And I have students in my community who do that. They come in as a virtual assistant, but they want to add a copywriting component. I chose to niche down, and that's why I separated my business and moved on from being a VA. But you don't have to do that. If you love virtual assistants and you want to continue offering other services, you totally can.
Okay. Awesome. And have you found that It is because, like I said, even with being a virtual assistant, a lot of times when you first begin to be a virtual assistant, we all typically offer everything. Like, 'cause we don't know exactly what it is that we want to do. But did you find, I'm pretty sure that you did because that's why you did it, but niching down into copyright or niching down to anything is actually brought you in more business than
Yeah.
offering everything.
Yeah. And I'm glad you touched on that. I think it's going to help a lot of people. One of the things I talk about in my community all the time is that at first I was scared to niche down because I thought offering more services was going to mean having more clients, but that's not true. And here's why. When people are looking for a particular service, they want someone who's an expert in that area. So you are going to find people who kind of want a, jack of all trades, someone who knows how to do everything. But when it comes to like copywriting, if they're going to invest in a premium service like that, they want someone who is a specialist in copywriting. So when you make your business all about that one service, whether it's copy, web design, anything that you choose, even if it's bookkeeping, but you show them that you're an expert and authority in that one thing, and they're going to trust you a little bit more.
Yeah. But I think it helps to bring in more clients because then even with your content and your copy, it kind of allows for you, like even as simple things as like ranking on Google. You can rank Google if your content is about just copywriting versus your content is about everything underneath the sun.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily know exactly where to place you. So the travel admin, she says niche it down scares her.
Oh,
But
yeah, I've been there.
yeah. It's pretty hard to do. And even with myself, like I might have niched down. I still offer maybe about 2 to 3 different services, like on my other business, like website design, business consulting.
Yeah.
But definitely from doing calendar management, customer service, social media, graphics, all of that was done. And like you said, it did not bring in more people. It did not bring in more people. And like you said, it's very hard to be an expert at
everything. Yeah.
Every single thing that you offer. It's a great initial start to kind of get your feet wet and making money from home. But in the long run, I think that niching down, and even would you say, like even with copywriting, like even niching down to a particular type of audience? So like when you choose your clients, do you choose like certain type of clients, or are they mostly online businesses? Or because I know you mentioned before about, your local businesses, but is it a type of business that you kind of go after?
That's a great question. So yes, I can write copy for any kind of business, but when you go to my agency website, it's very specific. And I speak mainly to people who have a high ticket service. They offer high ticket services. So these are businesses that want to reach a high end clientele with their business, and they need help with their messaging strategy to be able to target those higher end clients. So it could be, a video production company that offers video services. That's high ticket. It could be another copywriting agency. It could be anything, but I do specialize in more of that like high ticket services, or even courses as well, because I obviously used to work at the Virtual Savvy, and they sell high ticket courses and they're amazing. So yeah, niching can range. So you can niche by industry, by the kind of business, or by the kind of copy you write. So maybe you serve all kinds of businesses, but you specialize in email copy, or you specialize in website copy. And that is another way to do it as well. And I just want to say, for those people who are scared to niche down, don't be scared of it, because you can change it as many times as you want. If you wake up one day and you realize that you don't like the niche that you picked, you can just change it. You're not married to it, so don't feel like you're going to be stuck forever, okay?
Yeah, definitely. And even when you mentioned like the email, website copy, like, so if someone were to get into writing copywriting or doing or offering copywriting services, what would you think would be the easiest for someone to get into? Or would it be just depending on the person?
Yeah, it really depends on the person. I gravitate towards email. So I always say, hey, start out writing social media copy and emails, and like newsletter emails, and then apply those copywriting principles to those forms of copy. I think personally that's a great place to start, but some people might not like writing emails. For me, I love it. And I think it's a great starting point. But I would say maybe try social media copy, try email copy, ad copy, and see how you like it, and then grow from there. But I do think that as a new copywriter, starting with short form copy is going to be a little bit easier for you. You can start applying those copywriting principles. And then from there, once you have a deeper understanding, it will be easier to write longer form copy, like a sales page or a website or something like that, because you have those foundational principles down pat.
Gotcha. Well, Joe, I appreciate you joining me here today as a travel and admin. She was just agreeing to something that I always said. She definitely needs higher end clients because she works 24/7 for mostly startups that don't really know what they need. I love helping them because I've been there, but the income isn't there. So yeah, I think a lot of service providers can definitely relate to that. Having to adjust your prices to the clients that you have. But I think that kind of goes into being able to articulate that value for those premium clients.
Yeah.
Will definitely help in that case. All right. But I appreciate you joining me, and I appreciate everybody that's joining and tuning in live. Go and follow her on social media too, because I said that you guys can follow her on Instagram and on Facebook at The Virtual Mama. So definitely go through and give her a follow. Again, and this is not just something for getting into copywriting per se. If you don't necessarily want to become a copywriter, you can still go through and use these same techniques for your virtual assistant business, your virtual call center business, whatever type of business that you have, you can actually use these skills. So she does have a free course. It's linked inside the description. So you guys can grab it in both places. So definitely go through and do that. But again, Joe, I appreciate you joining me. Like I said, this was a wealth of information. So I appreciate you coming on and joining us.
Hey friend, I'm so glad you tuned into this episode. Really quick, if you are looking for faith-based business coaching to grow your online business, I want to tell you about the coaching program that was designed specifically for Christian entrepreneurs who want to grow their income without burning out and while keeping Jesus at the center of their business. You can go to thevirtualmama.com/coaching to learn more about it. And I'll also drop that link in the show notes. Now that landing page is just for informational purposes only, and you will get an application there. If you decide you want to move forward, you can apply, but there is no obligation. You don't have to submit your information or email or anything like that to be able to learn more about it. Okay. I hope this episode blessed you. Remember to please rate and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen so that more people can be blessed by this podcast. Until next time, bye. Thank you for listening to the Business in His Image podcast with me, your host, Joe Harris. If this show has blessed you, please share it with a friend and subscribe so that you can be notified when we release new episodes. My prayer is that God will help you soak up every bit of what you've heard today and help you apply it to your business so that you can see results. I'll see you next time, and may God bless you.